And here are your hosts, RJ Young and Brandon Drumm.
So this is the first podcast we get to do as preseason camp is underway on the Young and Drumm podcast, presented by OUinsider.com. I'm RJ Young. That is Brandon Drumm. Brandon, how you doing?
What's going on, man? It's that time of year.
Yeah, man.
Everybody seems to be pretty hyped about the old football time in Oklahoma. So it's about that time, and 26 days away and counting. And that is, and I think that's kind of all anybody really wants to talk about outside of the
quarterbacks
and defense.
Yeah.
Yep. That is it. The defense is kind of the main story, I think, going into fall camp and Alex Grinch and that staff and what they've done. So far, I think for us as media people, I think we're probably most interested in that as well. And kind of see who's kind of come up. Obviously, newcomers, guys that have been on campus, all that stuff. So I think this podcast will be pretty informative and pretty fun.
Well, then let's go. I mean, I was on the air during availability. You went to practice availability. What'd you see?
You know, the crazy part is I think the weirdest thing I saw was Grant Calcaterra deep snapping. It's like what is going on? Like, do you want to risk that? But he's over there deep snapping to the punters. I thought that was fairly interesting. I know that he's talked about being good at that before, but I never really thought that they would, an All-American tight end kind of being your deep snapper is kind of different, I guess. It's risky, but I guess if you're really high on special teams, which OU is, obviously, I think that's a direction that you might go. The other thing was who was just catching the punts.
Let's just back that up for just a second, because I get asked this question, which means I know you get asked this question. How are the specialists looking? And I usually got three answers in my head, and the answers are go for two, go for it on fourth down, and take the fair catch in the ball at 25. But you brought up the deep snapping and Grant Calcaterra deep snapping. So
is that not weird though? Honestly,
I don't know. It was weird to see Tony.
Is that the first thing you think of when you walk out there? You're not like, I wonder if Grant Calcaterra is going to be deep snapping today. When you see that, you're kind of taken aback by it.
You're asking me, right? And I'm telling you, no. It's not, because if you don't have a guy and you didn't give a scholarship to a deep snapper, because remember Bob did that with Wesley Horkey, then you're at the mercy of whoever can do the job, because at the end of the day, you got to have somebody to deep snap the ball. And if that person ends up being your quarterback and nobody else, you're also screwed, but you got to deep snap the ball, or take my suggestion and go for it. That's why I keep saying
20, we're going for it.
Instead we're going to have the dude that many of y'all think is going to be an All-American tight end. I still think Lee Morris is the best tight end on the team. I'll agree to disagree. Point being, he's got to be your deep snapper if you want to deep snap the ball. Do you really want to kick field goals that much? Is that what you want? Because I don't. Do you want to punt that much? No. And that's this. So when you tell me it's weird,
that's probably what they're thinking. They don't have to do that very often. So.
Oh, please. Yeah. They got to do it whenever it counts. Ask Austin Seibert about when it counted.
I'm not talking about field goals. It's like punting. I mean, they didn't punt that often last year.
Okay, so oh man, now we're getting into a different conversation, because I think they could be punting more than they did last year. As much as
yes.
Okay,
yes.
Well, there you go. Yeah. There you go.
But still, that would be probably less than most teams, is what I'm getting at. But anyways, as far as you asked how the kickers and stuff are going, I tell you that Munchau looks pretty good.
There you go.
I'm not going to lie.
Nice
he does look pretty good punting. Yeah, he's got some good hang time. And I thought the other interesting part is everybody thought Trajan Bridges would be the other guy back there catching punts with CeeDee Lamb.
I thought it was going to be Jaquaylin Crawford.
It was Nick Basquin.
Really? There you go.
There you go.
go.
See?
Sure hands.
Yeah.
No,
sure hands. I don't know about quick feet, though.
Yeah, well, and we're going to – I think for him, it's going to be a lot. Right? Remember Justin Brown catching punts?
Yeah.
Because Justin Brown wasn't the quickest guy. He also wasn't injured, but he wasn't the quickest guy. He was just big, and he had sure hands.
I will say Nick looks like he's moving way better than he did last year. And at the end of last year, he looked like he was moving pretty well. So that bodes well for Oklahoma as far as that slot position goes. So
how's Burkich?
I didn't get to see any field goal kicking.
Oh, wow. Oh, man, you missed some riveting stuff, I'm sure.
I'm sorry I missed that, guys. I didn't pay much attention to it.
I'm going to troll the people who are watching and wanting the news of field goals like I troll people who bird watch. For what? For why?
It's a crucial part of the game, RJ.
Oh, my God. No, dude. It's really not. Really not.
There's a reason why that high school coach at Robinson High in Little Rock hasn't
Pulaski.
Yeah, Pulaski. Oh, Pulaski High.
Pulaski Academy.
It's Pulaski. Pulaski County is how it's pronounced.
Okay, then it's Pulaski. Then it's Pulaski Academy.
Yeah, Pulaski Academy. I thought it was Robinson for some other reason. But yeah, Pulaski. They haven't punted or kicked a field goal in like 3 or 4 years. So.
Yeah, I saw that Real Sports documentary too. I still I'm with you. I'm just.
And they onside kick it every time too. That's so crazy.
All right, now I want to talk about secondary because I'm getting hot. Question that I had going into this was, until Friday, is Bookie gonna play corner? No, Bookie's a nickel.
And he loves it.
And that was the part that was interesting. Is like, all right, that's cool. You're a nickel. Let's go.
Yeah, he pretty much owned it, and like, I feel so much more free at this position, and I get to play downhill and feel the
He also claimed that he was free at free safety, and I was like,
yeah, no, you were free getting burnt last year.
So I was going, I don't know if free is that's why I want you back corner, because I don't think free is what you're supposed to be doing, dog. You out here
burn me deep, Bookie.
Or hey man, just because you can walk around commando doesn't mean you should walk around commando, especially if you're the type of dude to leave a brown stain every now and again. That's how he looked playing free last year.
You know what? And he is probably he has a super high ceiling. So, and I'm a big Boogie fan because I just like him as a person. He's a good kid.
100%.
He is, literally. So we're at Meet the Players, and he sees Caden. And he's like, "Hey, man, come here." And like,
tell people who Caden is to you.
He's my son.
There you go.
So he pulls Caden behind the thing, and he's like, "I want to take a picture with him." And he takes a picture with him and like high-fiving, talks to him for a good 2 or 3 minutes. That is not normal in that type of setting. Those guys want to get in and out. And the fact that he took the time, even though, he obviously knew Caden, but it's really cool. And so to me, he's a really good kid. He's a really good guy. He's personable. And he's real upfront and honest with you about everything and his answers. Now, he's gotten a lot better at towing the company line than he was last year in the interviews, and you could tell that today when we did the interviews. It was kind of, he's not gonna say anything disparaging about Mike Stoops, and he's gonna pump up Alex Grinch all at the same time. Kind of what he was supposed to do, because he was asked some questions that he had every opportunity to bash on Stoops' scheme last year and everything like that, and he didn't. And he basically talked up Lincoln Riley, helping him keep his head up and make sure he was okay last year throughout the whole season, even when he was struggling and not getting to start anymore and all that stuff. And then, he went on to talk about Grinch.
Well, I'm going to cut you off and say that we're going to play this sound for the people right here.
Okay.
My family for sure, my people back home, but really just Coach Link. Coach Link, calling me in his office, always talking to me, making sure my head's held high. Coach Grinch, when he came in, I talked to him, and he always kept me positive. He's a positive dude. He's a positive energy guy. So that's what it is, man. It's a mature mindset all the way around.
What would you say the confidence levels have for you guys just 3 days into the summer?
Myself personally, I'm at an all-time high right now. I'm confident than ever. I feel as if I put the grind in, this offseason, and my team has too. With my brothers, I made sure, my whole team made sure that we did that. from Coach Bennie keeping it on us, making sure the pressure was on us, and we adapted to it and we fought through it. We never backed down from it.
What's the mentality been like compared? You've only been through like 3 or 4 practices, obviously, so far, but compared to last year with Mike and now with obviously Coach Grinch, what are some differences that you've seen? Just overall play, just the mentality, just everything on the defensive side of the ball.
I can't say it's a major mentality because Mike is a great coach. He always kept us, in honest situations. He always stayed true to us. Always kept us in real situations in film. Made sure that he coached us hard. So it's similar. Coach Mike and Coach Grinch are great people. I love listening to him, and Coach Ruff as well. It's my guy.
What's the first couple of things that jumped out at you when you first met Coach Grinch? Like, if you was to tell somebody that never met him about him, what would you tell them? First couple things.
He's a very serious guy, and that's what you want. He's a realist at that. He's gonna always keep it honest with you. He's not gonna sugarcoat anything. He's gonna make sure he tells you to your face. He's not gonna go around about or nothing like that. He's a grown man, and to play for him, you have to be a grown man as well.
Do you feel more free in Grinch's defense than you did? Obviously, probably maybe less thinking, maybe less, I guess, system-wise, is it a lot easier for you to just kind of grasp?
Not necessarily. Like I said, it's a little bit simpler, but at the same time, I was always a free player. Playing a strong safety position last year, bumping down, playing a little nickel as well. You're always a free player at that nickel position, but at the same time, it's similar as well, both high energy.
It's safe to say it's safe to say the defense, especially the secondary, might have had some struggles last year. But kind of one of the positives that people don't talk about is that most, if not all, those guys are coming back this year. What's some of the advantages of having most of those guys back that have learned from the struggles from last year?
Maturity. Like I said before, we all have our bruises. We all took our lumps early, and we're coming back swinging. It's all about, like Coach Grinch says, it's all about how you respond. It's just our respond mindset. Standing on all of our 10 toes, set your jaw, and keep swinging.
Now, tell me what it is that you took away from not just his demeanor and what he said, but how is it going to affect the secondary?
He's more calm. He's more assured of himself. He's more relaxed. He's more confident. He seems like he has a better grasp of the defense. And I mean, even when you talk to Robert Barnes, he talked about just the overall speed and understanding of what is being asked of him. And Deshaun White did the same thing. Said, look, we understand the defense better. It's you do this. This is your job here, and this is what you're going to do. There's not a lot of variations from what you're supposed to be doing. Your keys are pretty simplistic, and that is the goal for Speed D, because in Alex Grinch and Brian Odom and Roy Manning's mind and Calvin Thibodeau and Ruffin McNeil, they want it to be as simplistic as possible. That way they have some of the best athletes in all of college football. You can't be the best athlete if you're having to think the whole time, and you can't, just go play. So, and I think that's kind of where they're at right now.
So this is interesting because one of the things that I've been doing here over the last 4 or 5 days is just going through a bunch of coaches' interviews that I have aggregated for myself, because I just want to hear coaches talk ball. I want to see what they see. I want to hear what they hear. I want to know what they think leadership is and how they view offensive and defensive football. And the thing that everybody will say is what Mike used to say, right? They'll say, we want to be more multiple. Well, now the in vogue thing to do is to say we want to be more simplistic. We want to let our kids play fast. We want to simplify the defense. We want to simplify the offense. The only person who's been able to do that and keep that 100% what he's done for the entirety of his career is Mike Leach. That air raid remains simple. It's why it's my favorite, because it lets your average football player have a distinct advantage against talented football players. So when talented football players try to run an air raid scheme, it's almost like, this is all we're supposed to do. And remember, this was a knock against Brent Venables toward the end, was the playbook got too bloated and there were too many responsibilities, and it was a lot like West Coast in its running. Then you got Mike Stoops, who was supposed to simplify the defense. Well, not only did he not, he shifted it to the 3-4. And now we got a guy who is claiming again that we're going to be simple. And I'm understanding what you're saying, right? You're reporting what they tell you. You're reporting what you see. You're reporting what you hear. I'm saying that if I watch a kid take 4 false steps in 2 series, I'm going to lose my mind, because that will tell me he's thinking. If we see kids like, this is the favorite, look at the sideline with their hands in the air, then it's not simple, right? So I'm laying all this stuff in here to say you're 100% right, and they're 100% right to do it. But what I find is coaches try to pad the playbook because they want to give themselves options, and they want to know that they had a play call that was right. When most of the time, you got to live and die with whatever the kid's going to do. And that's the most difficult part to do with coaching, which is you don't have a robot out there that you control with a controller. You got to let a kid go play, and that means taking your hands off the controls, which Leach can do. I haven't seen a whole lot of other coaches be able to do that.
Yeah, I think Lincoln Riley would be the other coach that's been able to kind of, because it is Mike Leach's air raid that he's using in his own way. I guess he's been able to do it no matter who is at quarterback, no matter – and obviously he has a great talent. Like you were saying, the average guy at Washington State can be considered all conference in Mike Leach's offense because of what it is and what it creates for the player. Defensively, I think I want to see how simplistic OU is, and I think that's kind of what you were getting into come Texas. You know what I mean? Like, how bloated is this defensive playbook going to be? I mean, we know to start the season it's going to be some. We saw that with OU for the past couple of years. They look like world beaters the first 3 or 4 games
and they
of the
will
year.
again, and they will again. They will again.
Every year. And then what happens? The playbook gets bigger, the players get more confused, and things kind of start to go downhill. Is that what's going to happen in 2019?
Well,
we don't know, but Alex Grinch does have a history of being able to make the defense continue to improve as the seasons go on, as this season goes on, and his next couple of seasons goes on, because he's done it at Washington State, he's done it at his other places. He didn't get the chance to do it at Ohio State because he wasn't the play caller.
But they were his secondary. They were his safeties.
They were his secondary.
They were his safeties. He had three guys on that defense, man. He had the nickel, the strong, and the free. So yeah, I want to give him a pass on the play calling.
The safeties at Ohio State, for all intents and purposes, got a little better. The corners were the issue.
Well, I mean, okay, all right. You're the co-defensive coordinator. You're gonna have.
Right, so you take fair amount.
No,
of the blame.
but I'm also getting at. Yes, we understand that everywhere else he's been, where he's been the play caller, right? That one time he was the play caller, he was really good. He was outstanding in the Pac-12 against teams that can move the football. What I'm asking and what I want to know is not necessarily whether or not the playbook is going to get bloated, but are you going to stick to the principles when you start getting beat? Because that's what it is. What's gonna be is, what is your in-game adjustment? Because if your in-game adjustment is Mike Stoops telling Julian Wilson to go to middle linebacker, that's actual bad. And that's what we don't know, right? We don't know if he's gonna panic, because that's what it is. Because when you start out this game, you start out with a small playbook and you say, we're gonna execute these at the highest level. We're gonna be very, very good at this. And then you'll see something like Army, right? To use an example, an offense you just don't see regularly, or something you haven't prepared to stop directly. And you'll go away from what you know how to do because you're trying to put in stuff to stop that thing. Instead of just going, you know what? We know how to run cover 0, cover 2, cover 6, cover 9, cover 4, and that's it. That's what we do. I just don't know if that's what I want to know. That's my question is, what are his in-game adjustments going to be when they start getting beat to hell? You know, because like that's what it is. You're going to have to either go say, hey, look, I'm going to put my hands up and say, hey, kids, you know what the defenses are. You know what the calls are. If you're going to get beat, you're going to get beat, right? And then you have to rotate players and you have to figure out what guys do well and what guys don't do well. But that's the question I always have for coaches is, what are you going to do when it is crunch time? Because you always want to know what your players are going to do, right? You're going to go, I want a guy out there that's not going to crumble. I'm going, coaches do that crap all the time. Send in a bad play call or go to a prevent defense because they're getting burnt. It's like, all right, you want somebody to do something, but at the end of the day, your talent is your talent. And what you got is what you got. So we can't keep saying that they're more talented than anybody else if they keep getting beat running simple defenses. Is that right or wrong?
I mean, no, you're dead on. What I see, I'm trying to word this right to where it doesn't come off as just weird or awkward or just kind of Homer-ish. like with the linebacker position, the talent seems to be there more than it has been in the past 4 or 5 years, right? They're bigger, faster, stronger than they ever have been in years, right? Probably deeper.
Since Corey Nelson, I would think you're 100% right. Since Corey Nelson, yeah.
Yeah, so Coach Odom's talked about that. He said, we're super deep, and he knows that. Now it's getting them to buy in and do it each and every play, each and every day, and not just, play here, play there type deal. The front seven ultimately is going to be OU's strength. Basically, it's going to hinge on how Roy Manning and Alex Grinch transform the secondary. I mean, we know the secondary is probably going to be better just off the sheer fact that you're going to have a better pass rush. But other than that, are they going to be giving up the big play? Are they going to be the 50-50 balls? Which way are they going to go? I mean, those are the type of things that OU has normally lost on in previous years. The things have got to change. They have the experience back there now. They have talent because everybody back there is a 4 and 5 star. There really is no excuse at this point. It's what are they going to do with that talent? And every OU fan is hoping that Grinch and Manning can somehow build enough confidence in these guys that they can forget what happens. And Robert Barnes touched on it. It's something that has been harped on him. And, Alex Grinch jokingly said if he could tattoo 129 on the forehead, he would, type deal. And they were lifting and doing things that added up to 129, which was what their defensive passing ranking was as far as yardage goes. So, I mean, it was bad last year, as bad as it could get. I mean, you can't get much worse than what Oklahoma was last year in the secondary. They've got to find a way to make a significant jump this year, or to me, it's the same old, same old. You have a good offense. You're probably going to win the Big 12. You're probably going to go to the playoffs. But are you going to be able to beat anybody in the semifinals? But I think that it hinges on the secondary more than anything else on this team.
And that's the other.
You agree with that?
Yeah, but to a degree, right? I think the worst thing is that this secondary could be above average, right? Let's say, for the sake of argument, that it is ranked 56th in the country in pass defense, and you got a total defense number that's like at 52, and you've getting, let's say, that number of 24 turnovers, right? Let's say you hit all of those. What I see out of this defense, and the reason why I would not necessarily be enthusiastic about how it could hold up against a playoff team, is that if you match the corners at Oklahoma up against the corners at Clemson, Bama, even Notre Dame, they're smaller. Same thing with the safeties. So they have to be craftier, which is the reason why I was so excited about Grinch is you know how to use undersized talent to win games, but you've never won games at the level that we're asking you to win games at. Now, the confidence is great, right? We all enjoy the confidence.
Right.
We all enjoy the straight talk. We all enjoy Bookie saying things like, hey, you got to be a grown man to play for this man. But if your scheme does not take advantage of a guy Bookie's size, don't tell me about how good or bad you're going to be, because that's what you got to work with. And we keep saying that there's 4 and 5 star guys back there. Yeah. But are they good enough to beat Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Michigan, teams we all expect to be there at the end? Because if you match this secondary up against LSU, what does it look like? If you match this secondary up against Texas, what does it look like? Those are the questions that I need him to answer. Like I continue to say, we don't pay you to go recruit. We don't pay you to go win the Big 12 title. We pay you to put together a secondary that can go and take away Trevor Lawrence's favorite wide receivers, and T. Higgins and Justin Ross are monsters. And as much shade as we want to throw at Bama, Jerry Jeudy, Jalen Ruggs, and Jalen Waddle, or Henry Ruggs and Jalen Waddle, are monsters.
Yep.
And the guys you all go up against in practice are monsters. So if you can't stop them, if you can't stop CeeDee Lamb, how can I expect you to stop Justin Ross?
I mean, Alabama struggles stopping CeeDee Lamb, but your point is made.
Right. No, it's a fair point. No, but if that's what it is, right? If that's what it takes, then cool, right?
Those are the three schools. Like, if you're talking about if you're a secondary and you really don't want to go against the 3 schools that you really don't want to go up against are Clemson, Alabama, Oklahoma because of the wide receivers. You're right.
But then,
and I get what you're saying.
But look at what Venables was able to do with the secondary with Clemson and Tua Tagovailoa.
Oh no, you're right.
So like that's what I'm getting at. I get when you match up and you put dudes in positions. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to jump routes right. And that's the question that we won't get answered for a while. But those are the ones that I really want to ponder, and less about, I get pissy, I think is the word, about Bookie, and I get pissy about how good I know some of these guys are. But if you can't build around them, what good are you?
I will say that you were talking about size, and Jaden Davis isn't the biggest guy in the world, but he sure is making waves, and I know it's early. So, I mean, he's a guy that I think is going to have that South Florida swag, confidence that could be a difference maker in the secondary. Now, is he going to start? I don't know, but I think he's going to get some looks. He's going to get some playing time, and I think he's going to make some plays this year. And he's going to make some plays that probably wouldn't have been made last year with the secondary that they put out there. So they are getting the difference makers. I think if people really think it's going to just make a 180 in 1 year, you're smoking crack.
No, I don't think that's what they think. But if you're walking into a playoff game and you're not,
you've got to make plays. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I don't think anybody expects them to be world beaters. But I do think that if you looked at 2017, you're going, man, guys, if you just got us 3-4 stops, we win that game.
One more stop.
Well, I'm just talking, right? And against Alabama, if you just, Robert Barnes has a lot to answer for, right? Chance Sylvie coming off the injury has a lot to answer for. Jordan Parker coming off the injury.
Robert Barnes was asked that question.
Yeah, and then well, let's play that sound.
Eliminates a lot whenever you just fly around to the ball. You don't need all the schemes and all that when you got 11 guys just flying around to the ball. So I'll definitely just say speed and just that will to get to the ball and make a play.
How was that injury different for maybe, you've had a serious one in the past. I mean, did you feel this had a lot less impact on you as far as recovery and just getting back in the flow of things?
I wouldn't say it was a lot less of an impact. Every injury is hard because you're not out there competing with your guys. So I'll definitely say that. From a mental standpoint and physical, it was a pretty tough injury just to come back from because you want to be able to trust your legs and get your feet back under you. But I tackled it like I've tackled all my other injuries and just focus on me, focus on what I can control, and just get back and go full speed.
What exactly happened physically? Are you comfortable saying what your injury was?
I can't speak on what the injury was, but it was a lower body injury, and it took a few weeks to get back from, but I'm back now.
It wasn't. Were you concussed on that play?
No, it wasn't a concussion.
Okay. How much of the morale difference or mentality? How much does that change since Stoops compared to Grinch when you look at just the first couple of days of practice from last year compared to this year?
Like I said, it's just speed. I think
nothing mentally, nothing.
Yeah, with Mike, it was just, you know what I mean. It was a lot of schemes and specific places where you need to be and all.
And what I want to know from you is, why do you think he was so evasive about his lower leg injury?
It's his hamstring. I don't know why.
That's what I was going. It's like why?
I think because they're taught not to give out like, my hamstrings hurt. All this stuff. They're taught
lower body injury. I'm like, dude, we saw it explode.
I thought Tyler Palmatier handled that so well.
No, he did. He was the other guy in the interview with you. Yeah. Transcript sports
so
editor.
Well. Yeah. He could have kept pressing, but he was like, you know what, I'm just going to leave him alone because he could tell that it was going nowhere at that point.
And I appreciate the question about, hey, man, did you get a concussion after, you got run over? Because that's a legitimate question. We all saw that hit. You didn't look good. And he's like, no, I didn't get a concussion. Like, I'm just going, okay.
Yeah.
All right, calm down, dog. Why don't you use that and go truck the next running back that tries to truck you like a linebacker, all right? I was going, all right.
Tyler did a great job with that. I kind of looked over at it and kind of smirked. I was like, wow. That he kept going, but then he kind of was like, you know what? He's not going to say it. So he went with the concussion question. And he's like, no, it's my lower leg. And then, but yeah, it's a hamstring. It was been the hamstring. That was even reported.
Right. Right.
Ironically, Riley said, yeah, he's got a hamstring problem after the game, and even during the spring, he said he's struggling with his hamstring. So, but those kids are robots when they get up there and talk, and that's not Robert's fault. That is, he's doing exactly what he's told to do.
No,
and you can't blame him. So.
I don't want to, right? That's not what I wanted to make it about. All right, so
because
I'm sorry. I know you got to go, so I just want to get to the quarterbacks.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, so I wrote that story on OU Insider, and I thought it was interesting because I wanted to get the lay of the land on exactly how both sides of the ball felt. And I don't know if you read it or anything about Jalen Hurts and just his overall leadership and how much kind of the Alabama in him was brought to Oklahoma. And players were pretty open about it. Kind of some of the things that he's done to really amp up. And I can actually be an eyewitness account because today after practice, when we were doing interviews, the last person, literally the last person, 5 minutes after everybody else left the field, you know who's just now walking out the field is Jalen Hurts. And he's out there helping people pick up. He threw a bunch of extra balls and stuff like that. He's different, man.
Yeah.
He is a different guy. And I think it shows in how the players are kind of going about things business-like. And Patrick Fields kind of hit on it the best. He's taught them that, look, this is a business. Yeah, you're here to play a game and go to school, but you need to act professional and be professional in the way you go about doing it because ultimately your brand will follow you wherever you go, whether it's from Alabama to Oklahoma,
Hashtag
Oklahoma
for the brand.
to the NFL. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna read. I think you're really talking about reputation.
Yeah.
Right, rather than brand, because brand is a nasty word. It's a bad word. But I think all the things you're talking about are integrity, discipline, and reputation.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It kind of instills a lot of different stuff that I don't think it was missing, but I think it's brought more to the forefront, if you know what I mean. Like, I think he's done a really good job on both sides of the ball. And even Kenneth Murray is like, yeah, we kind of lean towards him to really – and he said, I lean towards – I look over at Jalen, and I'm like a sponge when it comes to that because I want to learn from somebody like that that's been there so many times and knows what they're doing because he does.
I think it's also just that level of seriousness because we know this. Like, there are certain folks in our industry that we're always going to look to because of the level of class that they purport themselves with, the respect and reverence that they purport themselves with. Like, I walk around in sweats and a t-shirt and dreads. I am punk rock. I am post-punk rock, all right? I know that about myself, right? But if you see me in a tuxedo, you probably saw me at the Thorpe Award or you saw me at somebody's wedding. It's just not going to be what I'm going to do. Whereas there are other people in our profession who we would always look to and be like, no, that dude, he's always put together. He's always disciplined. He's always got a level of integrity with him, and he always treats people with tremendous respect. And Jalen has managed to cultivate that as an image for himself, not just here, but at Alabama, right? Because I've made the analogy many times that he's Crimson Tide's Russell Westbrook. Like, they love that dude. They don't care. Like, they're not rooting for OU, they're rooting for him. Like, folks that are from Oklahoma rooting for the Cleveland friggin' Browns because you got Baker, and we love Baker. And that, I think, is there's something to learn from that if you're a player, just being around him. I don't know that I want to continue to say that, I treat that dude like whatever he does I want to do, but I understand that they're close watchers, right? They're watching the details. And that's what you're making reference to when he's coming in is I'm going in my head, a quarterback that's coming in first is not a quarterback that I expect to lead. Ever.
Yep.
That's just the nature of the position. Like, we put a lot of stock in that position because we expect them to do things like Jalen Hurts does things, right? And we expect them to be the talisman for the team, whether they want to be or not. And I think all of that's coming off on Kenneth Murray Jr., who is the talisman of the defense, right?
Yep.
Pat Fields, who could ascend to that role sooner rather than later. I mean, that's a guy that I expect to take the leap. That's another. I mean, I know we're on quarterbacks and we're running out of time, but Pat Fields his name keeps just getting into my communications. Like when I talk to people, he just comes up all the time. He is
beloved on the team. He's beloved by the coaches. Yes.
So if there was going to be a guy that I would pick this year to become a household name who isn't, that's my guy. Like today, that's my guy.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
So is that your guy? Do you have a guy?
Yeah, I mean he's up there. Him, Jaden Davis, Deshaun White. Those are the three guys. I mean, we already know about Ronnie Perkins. Yeah. We already know about Jalen Redmond, who I like how they're bringing him along slow. I mean, he's out there working, but they're not pushing him. He'll be ready by game time. He's still going through everything. He's doing everything, but he's doing it with, helmet, no shoulder pads right now.
Shell,
and
right?
Then, yeah, Deshaun. No, I'm talking about Jalen Redmond.
Yeah, he's not in shells?
No, he had his helmet and everything on. He took it off after a bit and went through some other drills and then went back over. So they're just kind of slowly bringing him on. They like his progress. I mean, they say he's going to be ready by game 1. So completely ready. They say he's healthy, but they're being as precautionary as possible because of the situation like we've talked about before.
Right.
I mean, you have to be.
And I didn't want to get bogged down there again because we have belabored that one for a while. And if you want to hear what we have to think, just go back to the last couple podcasts. But to the point of guys and how they're emerging or not so much.
And yes, we've I think as far as guys, I think you're going to get to see a lot of Brian Mead and Levi Draper this year too. I just do.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't doubt that. I also think that whoever is the running mate with Kenneth Murray, they're going to see the most snaps. But I mean, you can't. Yeah, you can't discount the depth at linebacker. You just can't. And for that matter, the depth at rush in and the depth at corner. All those guys, I think, are going to get opportunities, and you're going to see ebbs and flows and ups and downs from all of them. But real quick, I put this question out on the Twitters, and I kind of want to put it to you.
Okay.
But I think I know your answer. I still want to know. We we agree that Jalen Hurts is going to be the starting quarterback against Houston. And I think most people who've been paying attention expect that to be the thing too. And by paying attention, I mean you just casually watch college football. Right? You just know. And as much as I appreciate the charade from Lincoln, I also think it gives an opportunity for Spencer Rattler, Tanner Mordecai, and Tanner Schafer to do two things. One, find out which one of you is going to be the backup quarterback, because that's a much more legitimate race than people want to think about. But also, you get to see what separation looks like. So that is the one point that I will give in Lincoln Riley's favor for not having named a quarterback, like a starter, is you get to let all three of those guys watch Jalen Hurts separate from them in practice and watch the team congregate around him in practice, right? Because nobody's been able to see that, really. I mean, everybody wants to be like, hey, we get spring ball, but it was only 15 practices and I don't want to draw any conclusions. All right, yeah, well, you did, just like the rest of us, all right? And then when you got here, now you have to figure something out in 2 weeks. And over those 2 weeks, you're going, hey, quarterbacks, now's the time. So if Spencer can separate. If the two Tanners can separate. If Jalen can separate. Now is the time to show that winning gene at your position. And I found that to be interesting. But the question is, which one of those guys is second, third, and fourth on the depth chart?
Are we talking about by August?
Talking about September 1 or August 24th when we get the depth chart.
I think you're going to see 2A, 2B with Mordecai.
We're going to get Orr. We're going to get Orrs.
Yep, you're going to get Orr. Yep.
Crap.
I think that's what you're going to get.
That's loaded.
And Schafer will be the other guy.
But wouldn't we call it a win for Rattler to be an Orr?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. We would call that a win. Then we call Rattler the guy.
Now, what I've been told is that there's a lot of people that believe Rattler is going to be the guy next year, like already. They think that he has just come in. I kind of wrote about that in my little quarterback deal on a VIP board, where there's a little buzz. It's not little. There's a lot of buzz that he is just completely won over the team. in the way he goes about his work ethic, his personality, his swagger, the way he throws the ball, everything about him, people seem to love. And you also have to remember the core of his people that he's going to be throwing the ball to and handing the ball off to. What class are they from?
Yeah, they're from his, and
they're from his,
or they've got at least one more year left.
So his rapport,
but
is so good with those guys already.
I get that, right? And I believe you. I'm also going that what I was told was, hey man, there hasn't been this kind of buzz around a guy that just got here since Baker. Like nobody buzzed about this when Kyler got here. Nobody buzzed like this when Tanner got here. It was some about Hurts, but when he got here, he was Jalen. He wasn't the guy that everybody's going, yo, what is that? And that is like it was. Hey man, nobody's been this excited since Baker got here.
Basically, I was told. Yeah, basically, I'm with you on that too. Because basically, I was told if something was to happen to Hurts, there's a lot of people inside that program that feel like Rattler would be who they stick in, and they're just going to roll with it.
Man, that's the question that I want answered the most. I want to
me too.
I put this to one of the Texas writers about Sam Ehlinger. I was like, who's first off? Now we both think it's Casey Thompson. He thinks it's Casey Thompson. But I think at Oklahoma that's a much more interesting question because Tanner Mordecai's got a year in the system and 4 games of mop-up duty. But
it's not. But he's not. But people, you can't. We're not saying Tanner Mordecai can't play because Tanner Mordecai is very, very good. He's good. He's really good.
But that's kind of my point, though. Austin Kendall was really good. He's actually really good. It's not that he can't play.
You're talking about Jalen Hurts and Spencer Rattler. You're talking about guys that are just built different.
And that's why I would say to Tanner Mordecai or Austin Kendall, whomever, yo, man, just pull a Tyler Tettleton. All right? It's not that serious. I know everybody wants to go where they want to go. But if you are on a roster with a guy that is as talented as Kyler was, as Baker was, as Spencer is, what the hell are you doing here? I mean, I know that people go, RJ, are you telling this kid to leave? Yeah, if it's not working, you're a quarterback. You can only play one at a time. You can only play one at a time. Like they're having the same issue in a number of different spots where you're going to see quarterbacks do the musical chair thing more than you see almost any other position because they just don't get a shot because the guy in front of them's just that good. It's like, hey, man, I got to play the guy that's going to give us the best opportunity to win, and it ain't that you're not good. It's just that he's better, and that's a really tough thing to get across and to be okay with. Like, it's real tough for any of us to say, man, that guy's just better. And you love what you do. You're good at what you do. You're not bad at what you do. You're just not the best at what you do.
Yeah, I also want to make sure that there's a disclaimer here that we're not saying that Mordecai is not going to be the starter, or we are saying that. We're not saying that he's not going to be number 2. We're saying that there's a lot of buzz that's how good Rattler is, that people genuinely believe that he could be the backup and just ultimately be the guy going forward.
Man, I can't believe we can't treat people like adults. I mean, you're right to put the disclaimer in there, but my God, I want to have a cool conversation about stuff.
No, and you're fair. That's a fair way to put it. It's just
have we reached the level? Happen. Have we reached the level where people aggregate what we say while we're talking? Oh my God.
Yes.
Good. I just want to, I get carried away because I'm talking with my buddy about OU football, and we know a lot about OU football, and we like talking to each other about OU football, and we get paid to cover OU football, so it's just a lot of fun. Because this is essentially just 2 dudes on the phone for an hour talking about things.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, what? Okay. I can't even.
Yeah, thin ice, buddy. Thin ice.
Good God. It's like, yo, man, you should hear some of the conversations that we don't have on tape then.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, not happening. Not happening. Man, that conversation would have taken a complete turn off the air.
Oh man, this just reminds me of the podcast where it's lost to the ether because numbnuts over here forgot to hit the record button. Thank God.
Oh my God, that was really good too. So,
but it was just I was like, hey guys.
It was pretty deep. There was a lot of stuff that we're probably glad didn't make it.
Right. And it was just, it's like, matter of fact, let's
probably glad it didn't do it.
Right.
So let's re-record it and not say those things again.
Oh man. All right.
Yeah.
So we got to get out of here because you got a thing and I got to do some yard work. Got to pull some weeds. They're trying to take over my front porch.
Very nice.
Yeah, that's good.
Enjoy that, and I will bring my stuff with me to the appointment, and whenever we're doing all this, we'll get everything loaded up so you all can listen to the podcast.
100%. We're going to try to do a couple more of these over the course of camp. I know that, we're sporadic, and, we work for a living, and this is the thing where we're really having to just schedule time to do, and it's much more difficult just to schedule the time.
Try to get another one in this week.
Right, but we're going to try. We swear, and we always do, but we're going to try. All right, that is Brendan Drumm. I am RJ Young. Remember to rate the podcast 5 stars on wherever it is that you get your podcast, and I know from the data that most of you get it from Apple and Android, so please take the time.
2 for 1 deal.
Right.
On OUinsider.com.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
You buy 1 month, get 2 months free on OUinsider.com, which means you'll get access to all the VIP information, all the recruiting, all the insider notes, all the fall coverage that you can't get free anywhere else, all the insider notes that RJ and I dropped, team notes from source notes, all that stuff.
We both had like 3 this morning.
Yes, we did. And there's a lot on there right now from just the past 24 hours been ridiculous with notes. And you all can have access to all that stuff going all the way through the Texas game if you sign up now.
All right. That is going to do it for us. Deuces.
Deuces.